I realized that some people just discovered who Ann Coulter is. And they kind of warmed up to it pretty quickly. And I understand that because you don't know what you don't know, right? But okay, here goes the little primer on Ann Coulter. So Ann Coulter used to be Tucker Carlson.
To do with demographics. It has to do with whether you are here legally or illegally, whether you consider yourself an American, whether the laws on the books are going to be enforced. We are having an invasion of people
if you discuss
across the southern border.
If your default in discussing Asian Americans,
it's Miracle on 34th Street. It is every movie made about Santa Claus. He lives at the North Pole. You go find Black Santa at the North Pole. He's white, Peters. As for Jesus, Jesus is a real person.
I think on three positions, trade, immigration, and foreign wars, Trump is illustrating how the Republican Party and the establishment has been forcing Republicans, the entire GOP, into taking suicidal positions.
She was everything. She was like the dynamo of the conservatives. She was getting all the media attention. She was an outspoken author. Conservatism, that was her. She was killing it.
What happened?
It was like when Trump got elected, all of a sudden Ann Coulter went away.
She was gone. Did she disappear?
I don't know where she went, but she went away. Her stock price went down, right? Well, around that time, she was really hard on immigration. And I believe as much as the conservatives like to talk about immigration and how they want to end it, there was never really a solid plan to like get rid of it, right? To stop immigration. Because, see, by and large, people that benefit from immigration or benefit from people that can come in and exploit at low wages are both Democrat and Republican. Like, I don't know why people don't understand this. Like, it's across the board. If you got a corporation and you want to pay people less, or if you work in the industry that you would benefit from basically slave labor, private prisons, or immigrants, undocumented workers, that'll be the way to go. And I don't know why some people are not getting it, okay? But it's pretty clear, it makes basic sense. Well, Ann Coulter has always been someone who's been against immigration. And that's why she made this statement that many people are recirculating, and it's getting some push.
You make kind of a provocative comment in your new book here, Mugged, and I think it's on page 151. You write that various groups, feminist, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks.
See, this is essentially the problem, and the Republicans don't understand.
What have we done to the immigrants? We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country.
But you see, most of us are either immigrants or are the descendants of immigrants, and we understand that not everybody. There are Native Americans, but we understand in this country. We understand in this country that kind of self-deportation, making things so difficult for immigrants, for undocumented immigrants, that they have to leave, or the DREAM Act, vetoing, threatening to veto the DREAM Act, which is what Romney has said. And again, we have Governor Romney, who is basically taking a position that is anti a large and the fastest growing segment of the electorate.
And here's the thing, if Republicans don't do something with immigration, and if Republicans are so far away from Latinos, they're going to lose not only this election, they might lose the White House for generations.
So Ann Coulter was the lone Republican sitting at the table, and she was calling it correctly. She was saying how what was happening with the Democratic Party was they were replacing blacks. Now, Jorge Ramos, who just predicted that the Republicans were going to lose power for decades because Hispanic Americans were going to all of a sudden, or Latino Americans were going to all of a sudden, reject the message about immigration. But in fact, many critics believe that's the reason why Trump won, because it was immigration. And just as we look around now, we see a lot of people gravitating to Trump's idea about immigration because money. power, and money is an issue?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks.
See, this is essentially the problem, and the Republicans
What have we done to the immigrants? We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country.
I like what Ann Coulter said here. How could I disagree with it? It's obvious. One of the biggest beefs I have is that what they like to do is like to shoehorn everybody into black issues. They like to shoehorn everyone in every country, every ethnicity, every problem, every orientation, every gender issue, and they want to push it and compare it to being black. But here's the thing. Black people were the only people in American history ever to be enslaved on American soil. See, there you go right there. No rebuttal. And what has happened, every other group has used black pain and suffering to boost itself. Just go look at it. I don't care who it is. That's what they do. So I agree with Ann Coulter here. The problem I have is some people don't do any more looking then. And some people just say, I'm going to go vote Republican then. And I'm trying to tell people it ain't that simple. It's not that simple because Republicans suck too. Democrats are horrible. Republicans are horrible too. There it is. And yes, I know that leaves us in a bad situation. White folks are also in a bad situation. They just haven't waken up to it. Some of them actually believe there's this huge difference between Republicans and Democrats when there's not, okay? And that goes both ways. That's why I've been pushing so hard for a third party. So I go to Ann Coulter's profile because I haven't been there in a while. I'm working on this video, all right? And I see this tweet she put out. And this tweet is horrible. She's retweeting a story about LeBron James' school. And like all the facts are screwed up. She doesn't care. It happened in Ohio. This story is about a fight that took place at the LeBron James Academy. And Ann Coulter is circulating it as if these two black thugs attacked this good white kid and beat him up and only got probation or a very small tap on the wrist. Well, that's not what happened at all. That white kid was high, rolling around, shooting people with a pellet gun in a stand-your-ground state. He drove up on these kids and shot them with a pellet gun. These young men. He shot these young men while they were playing basketball with his pellet gun. He shot them multiple times. He even shot one of them in the face. They tried to take his gun, and then they whooped his ass. He fell and hit his head. The end. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's horrific. It's devastating. It's tragic. Somebody lost their life. But if the white kid would have been a black guy who shot these black kids with a pellet gun, she would have never talked about it. Because she could care less about what happened. But she only cares because it fans flames of what? Of racial animosity. See, I don't have a problem with Ann Coulter being right. And I don't got a problem with some people bigging her up and talking about how great she is or recirculating her content or whatever. My thing is when you don't dig further. And see, when you take it at face value, when you just accept the premises as if what they're saying is true, that's when you set yourself up to be used because Ann Coulter doesn't give a damn about black folks. She says a couple things to throw a bone to the black folks, to go after the Democrats because her ultimate goal is immigration. But at the end of the day, she will unleash the hounds.
Hounds!
You can't trust her, Bernard.
Way ahead of you.
So Ann Coulter may be right about one thing, but she's wrong about so many other things that you got to stack them all up and really look at her collectively and see what you get out of it. Because that tweet that she sent out, that was sent to like 2 million people. And she didn't go back and correct it. She did not. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe she knew it was bogus when she sent it out because she's an opportunist. She's seeing an opportunity to capitalize on resentment that black people may feel to the Democratic Party, and she's fine with that. She's fine with that. That's cool. But at the end of the day, will she cross party lines? Will she defend black folks? No, she won't. At the end of the day, it's all about what best suits her. And I'm willing to be proven wrong. My thing is, don't expect any of these people to be our friends. Don't expect any of them to have our backs unless they demonstrate it consistently. In a one-off interview, a one-off segment where she says something powerfully supportive of the black community, only because it's a wedge issue for the Democrats away from the black vote, what is she going to do in the future that's going to help black folks? See, that's the question. That's what I always got to ask these folks. Even when they're saying good things like, okay, we're going to help try to get Medicare or universal health care for everyone. Okay, that would benefit black people. I'm down for that. But what about black programs that help black people specifically? And then I get silence. I get crickets. See, that's the same criticism I have for Bernie Sanders. I get crickets when it's time to specifically help black folks. Then we don't understand what reparations is. Then we get fools coming out of the woodwork like Vivek Ramaswamy, wanting to kiss Trump's ass, wanting to get VP slots, then throwing black people under the bus and using black pain and suffering when it's advantageous for them in their arguments against what? Against the liberals.
To deal with racism.
I think I will be better positioned.
You're denying that racism is a problem.
I've never denied that racism is a problem. And if you listen to the response I gave to that black pastor, my whole point is racism has been a major problem for most of our national history. But we're getting close to the promised land that Martin Luther King envisioned. We're as darn close to it as we ever have been. And so what bothers the heck out of me is it's right when we're close to that promised land. Martin Luther King said it, I may not get there with you, and he didn't get there with us. But I think it desecrates the legacy of our civil rights movement, desecrates the legacy of Martin Luther King, that right when we get closest to the point of having racial equality and gender equality and even opportunities for people of minorities of many types, are we perfect? No. But are we as close as we've ever been? Yes, we have. To then obsess over systemic racism.
When the majority of black folks, not the ones that hang out with Jim Clyburn, not the ones that worship Don Lemon, not the ones that repeat the talking points of the Democratic Party hoping that they can ascend. But I'm talking about working class black folks, the same black folks that knew Ferguson was being over-policed for decades before there were riots in Ferguson. The ones that knew they were being over-policed in Baltimore, way before Freddie Gray got his spine broke. Those black folks who knew that, the folks that knew we were being discriminated on the jobs, who knew affirmative action was helping white women and not black folks. And people that understand that, you can say that we're doing better because we got Jay-Z and Oprah as billionaires, but at the end of the day, black folks own less than 3% of the wealth in the country, and we're 13 to 14% of the population, and that's a problem. So you can't say that we made all this advancement, but our money ain't right. When we know we live in a capitalistic society, and it ain't about some white guy not calling me nigga to my face, it's about my money not adding up, because in this world, it's all about milk and honey. It's guns and butter. It's can you afford to live indoors? Because that's the type of cutthroat capitalistic society that America is. It's not just about are people nicer on the outside. It's are our bank accounts nicer? Do our children have the same opportunities? And that's what we should be on. So look, once again, I got no problem with Ann Coulter being right about something, and I'll even give props for being right about that thing 11 years ago when you said this thing on this program. But when I look in the comments section and I see a bunch of black folks going, yeah, Republican, yeah, Republican, yeah, when they don't know, when they're no closer to supporting our programs, supporting our advancement than liberals. And unless you are willing to open up and recognize that fact and see that for what it is, not for the way you want it to be, not because it would be easier to believe BS, but to see reality for what reality is.
Wake up and smell the coffee.
Unless you're willing to do that, then you're wasting our time. So I don't give a damn about what Jason Whitlock has to say. He can go sit down with Gayle King and Charles Barkley, because they all out of touch. I don't care if they got a D beside their name or R beside their name. They got a $ beside their names. And that's the difference. Until we accept that that's how they're operating, then we tripping. So whether Andrew Gillum and Angela Rye and Tiffany Cross can start a new podcast, but they're not related to us because they on some other ish, because they got to appease the Democrats. And then, unless you're willing to buck the system and go after your own party, we got nothing to talk about. Because this transcends parties. Because that's the way America's set up. So look, have at it, man. Be all about it. Be about your business. Stand on it, 10 toes down, and be in support of your Ann Coulter's little clip. And I get it. I understand it. You want somebody to say what you're thinking. That's what media is all about, somebody saying it in a different voice. Do your due diligence, and you'll realize she's more part of the problem than the solution. And that holds true for most of them, Republican, Democrat, or otherwise. And if you ain't asking why is she saying what she's saying, you like Willie D. You asking the wrong questions. All right, my name is Tim Black, and this has been another episode of Calling It Out.
Hello, fam. We hope you enjoyed watching our content. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video with your real friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Calling It Out with Tim Black, where we bring you more bold coverage on politics, culture, and news. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. It's a new day.